So the United Nations Security Council is to meet in emergency session in New York at 9 o'clock UK time tonight to discuss the Russian plan for Syria's chemical weapons to be handed over to international control. Hopes of a diplomatic breakthrough rose when the Syrian government said it would cooperate with the plan. This could see the world's largest stockpile of illegal weapons systematically destroyed. But tonight, Russia's President Putin has said that America must take its threat of an attack on Syria right off the table if the plan is to proceed. While the Western powers are still cautious, today's moves were enough for the US Senate here today to delay its planned vote on President Obama's plans for a missile strike. As our Foreign Affairs correspondent Jonathan Miller here in Washington reports.
Phew, that was a close one. Armageddon postponed, maybe even averted. The man some cast as uncomfortable wielding American power may just have found a way out. Barack Obama is right now on Capitol Hill making his case, glad-handing congressmen, but also making it known that he's backing a plan to take the Russian proposal to the UN.
This represents a potentially positive development.
Last night, the president was wall-to-wall on network TV.
Are we back from the brink? Is military strike on pause?
Absolutely. It's possible if it's real. My preference consistently has been a diplomatic resolution. I have instructed John Kerry to talk directly to the Russians and run this to ground.
We're waiting for that proposal, but we're not waiting for long.
Obama's big guns optimistic, but cautious, fingers still hovering over the trigger.
That this cannot be a process of delay, this cannot be a process of avoidance, that has to be real, has to be measurable, tangible, and it is exceedingly difficult, I want everybody here to know, to fulfill those conditions.
All of us are hopeful that this option might be a real solution to this crisis. Yet we must be very clear-eyed and ensure it is not a stalling tactic by Syria and its Russian patrons.
In Moscow, the Syrians grasping at a plan that would spare them a strike that could have tipped the military balance. No wonder.
We accepted the Russian proposal which offered to us yesterday, and we are ready to fulfill it according to the agreed plan between us and Russia.
There was no way Obama could have garnered the votes that he needed in Congress, and with so many moving pieces on the chessboard today, the Senate has stalled as its members wait for some clarity.
I do know there's no way those discussions would be taking place, if they're taking place, without what happened last week in the Foreign Relations Committee, where we passed an authorization for the use of military force. So,
does the Russian offer possibly take the heat off?
Who knows? Again, it's very difficult to know if it's real. It's very difficult to know under what time frame. It's very difficult to know where Syria is in response to this.
As the Senate here pauses for breath, America, Britain and France have leapt to embrace the Russian proposal, a resolution backing the plan to be tabled at the UN Security Council today. Russian proposal? Well, David Cameron hinting today that this was rather more choreographed than we've all been led to believe.
It's an issue this specific proposal, I spoke to President Obama about it at the G20 briefly, and I've just spoken to him again today. He's also spoken to President Hollande, and Britain and France and America will be tabling a UN Security Council resolution today.
Tomorrow is 9/11, the day Americans remember the 3,000 people killed those 12 years ago, events which triggered a decade of conflict.
Tonight, Barack Obama addresses the American people from inside 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue here. Still, it seems hard selling. A war no one wants. There's no public appetite, there's no political will, and the president knows it. This country has seen an exit from this highway, and it wants to get off.
Today, Assad's warplanes bombed rebel positions in Damascus for the first time since the US made its threats. Rebels say it shows the regime believes America's lost its nerve. Into the midst of this bloodbath, international monitors may now be thrust, expected to secure more than 40 chemical sites scattered across Syria. This may not be practical, but tonight, The US looks pragmatic, the Russians look good, and Bashar al-Assad can continue to kill. Jonathan Miller, Channel 4 News, Washington.